Right then, JVC PC-30. So there's no end of people showing off this boombox, but you're here to see how to fix it, and more importantly how to fix the cassette deck, and I'll show you how to do that, even though nobody else really seems to want to tell you how to do it. Right, so this is your cassette deck here. So I imagine the problem as you've found is that this washer here, this flat washer, is split, yeah? You might not even have that, but that, it originally went around that, around this one, and around this one. And with the auto reverse mechanism, basically, at different times, this pushes against this roller and activates that, and vice versa. So you'll see it when I start it. Okay, so I won't do it there when it's playing. See how it activates when it plays there? So, when you look online, you're just going to find a belt kit for this. And the belt kit is basically one long drive belt and two smaller belts. No one's going to sell you this because no one really has it, but I made it really easily and I'll show you how I did it. What you want is one of these. Doesn't have to be from Wix, it's like a universal fitting. And you see this end here? This end here would have a washer on it. That's it there when it's in place. Now what I did is, you pop that off and I then put it over this in a drill, sandpaper, and I sanded it down a little bit. I took about 1/2 mil off and I sanded it down until it fitted onto this roller. It fits fine, but you want to take the top of that off to clear this roller here. So you'll know when you've done it because it'll all work. But basically you want to take 1/2 mil off the top and you want to flatten it, because if you look at this washer, if you see it in the light, it's not going to focus on it very well. This washer's flat. It doesn't have a rounded end, a rounded profile, whereas this does have a round profile when you get it new. But as I said, I just put it on something thick. In this case it was that. Just put it over that and then onto the sandpaper. That takes the flat spot off, and then you just stretch it over these two rollers here. And as I said, you'll know when you've took the right amount off because it'll work. What happens is if you don't take the right amount off, when you're trying the cassette in and fast forwarding, you'll find it doesn't want to fast forward because this roller's turning, but it's dragging friction off here. So you want to reach it to the point where that moves, but it doesn't take any friction off that, touching that, because that will mess it all up. So that's how to fix these two little things. And another thing is how to put the drive belt on, because if you found the drive belt and it's in bits, it's a little bit confusing on how you're going to do it. So this is how it goes. So on the back you've got your two flywheels, which you'll be familiar with. So here's your two flywheels here and here. Now you've got one belt here that goes to the back of that one belt here that goes to the back of that one. That's simple enough, but that drive belt can be a little bit tricky to work out which way round it goes. So that's the way round it goes. Obviously that's your motor here. So that's your flywheel 1 and flywheel 2, so it wraps around there like that and just touches the top of this one. Also, another thing to note on this player is that when you're fiddling around with it, you can have it out like this. Doesn't make a big deal of difference when you're fixing it. Easier. These two plugs, this one and this one, that's the power for the motor and that's the head. Those two plugs are exactly the same and have the same pins in, and believe me, it's easy to swap those two wires over. I've already done it once today and I managed to get away with it. It did smoke a little bit before I realised, but nothing seems to have gone. So just be aware of that. Also, there's a very fiddly little, let me just turn this off at the wall here. There's a very fiddly little micro switch. I'm going to unplug this, hang on a second. So, as I say, unplug that. unplug that. Now underneath the mechanism, can you see it here? There's a little switch on the back of that board, and go fiddle with one hand. It's here. So when you put it together, these two metal prongs have got to be holding that switch. Because what happens is that when you auto reverse it, this slides and it moves that switch, and that switch tells the head which side to play on. So you might, if you don't have that switch on, you'll find in one direction the music plays backwards because that switch isn't telling the head to use the other side of it. So I hope that this video helps you fix that cassette deck, because I looked at dozens of videos and not one of them mentioned how to do it, and so I just worked it out for myself. Quite an easy machine to work on this, really. It's just the whole tuner and graphic and volume board is just one piece that just literally pulls out two connections here, and the bottom board pretty easy to work on. So that's the Hack garden hose set. Wicks sell them. I can't tell you what that diameter is, but they're all the same. It's like a universal fitting, and that's the washer you want. Okay.